Welcome to this quick tutorial on how to use docstrings in Python. In this video, I'll show you how to write clear and effective docstrings for your functions using Google style for docstrings. So yeah, let's dive in. But before we talk about, for example, the code that is currently in front of us, or the docstring rather that is in front of us, we'll just start by explaining what docstrings really are. So docstrings are special comments that are placed right above the function definition. They describe what the function does, the parameters it takes, and what it returns. This makes it easier for others to understand and use your code, or even for yourself when you come back to it later. So essentially, docstrings enhance, the clarity of the code. They make it easy to maintain code. So now let's talk about what is currently on my screen. So I've got an example here of how you can go about effectively structuring your docstrings. So the first section is supposed to provide the summary of the function, sort of like an overview of what the function does and what its purpose is. And then the args section, which essentially explains what parameters the function take and the type of those parameters, or the values that the function accepts as parameters. And then we've got the returns section, which essentially provides details about the value, the type rather, of the value that the function returns. Now let's move to this real example over here. So it's a simple function that takes two arguments or parameters, which are a and b, in this case representing numbers. And for our summary section, we just provided a simple summary, just to say add two numbers. This is what the function essentially does. It takes two numbers and then it adds them and returns their total. And then for the args section, we provide details about the types or values that the function accepts as parameters. So int a rather is supposed to be an integer or a float, and a brief description rather of that parameter, which in this case is just the first number, because our function essentially requires two numbers, so we just need the first number. We just need our first number and the second number. So that is essentially what we have here. And then for our returns section, where we just provide details about the type of value that the function is supposed to return. So it's supposed to return a float, and which is the sum of the two numbers that we provided as parameters. Now these are actually keywords. Args and returns are keywords, and they cannot be replaced with anything. It has to be args and it has to be returns. And we do need args and returns when we are using Google style docstrings. Well, there are a lot of types of docstrings, or there are a lot of styles when it comes to docstrings. You can look up those styles, but like I said at the beginning of this video, that in this tutorial we'll be using Google style of docstrings. Now this is a very basic function. Let's have a look at another example and how we can go about writing docstrings for it. So that example is going to be one where we writing docstrings for a function that does not take parameters. So as you can see, our add function here takes two arguments or parameters. So let's see how we can write docstrings for a function that does not take any parameters. I'm just going to move this to the right so that we can compare this version of the add function with this one. So like I said, this one takes two parameters, a and b, but this one doesn't take parameters. Now let's focus on this one and talk about how we can go about providing docstrings for it. So the summary section is similar. We just provide an overview of what the of what the function does. So here we only said add two numbers, and for this one we're saying add two numbers provided by the user. So these are the numbers A and B rather, who will be the variables in which we're storing those two numbers that will be provided by users. So we're just using input statements to ask users to provide some numbers, and then we store them in A and B. So as opposed to passing A and B as parameters. And still in the summary section, so just providing more details about what the function does. So this function prompts the user to input two numbers, then adds them. And then moving on to the returns section. But before we talk about the returns section, as you can see, we do not have the args section here. That is because this function does not take any parameters, so we don't need the args section. We can add it. It will still be okay if we add it, but then we would have to just put none, for example args, and then we just say none. Yeah, we can do it this way as well. Alternatively, like I said, we can also remove this, since the function doesn't really take any parameters. Now let's move to the returns section. So it's essentially the same as what we have in this example. So our function returns a float, or a value of the type float, which is just the sum of the two numbers that a user will have provided. And then we also have got an additional section here, which is the raises section. So we add this section if our function potentially raises an error message. So here we're saying that this function, or we're essentially telling the next person working with our code, that this function potentially raises a value error, and then we explain the condition that might cause the function to raise this value error. So we just say if the input cannot be converted to a number. For example, when a user is asked to enter the first number here, they can enter a string, so that will cause the value error rather. So yeah, this is essentially how we go about creating docstrings, and this is how they should look like. Yeah, so we'll just end this video here, and if you've got questions, you can ask them in the comment section, and I'll do my best to answer. And yeah, remember to like, share, and subscribe for more tutorials. And yeah, until next time, I wish you all the best.